All right, friends, it's T-Man, and I'm back on another, I guess you would call it educational video Q&A, because somebody was asking me something, and a while ago, I just can't find his quote right now. But anyway, so I went to look for something, and so I found it, and we'll just talk about it. Eccentric muscle contractions, risks and benefits. This is what they're saying in this is NCBI, whatever, Frontiers in Physiology. Eccentric muscle contractions. They didn't say concentric. They said eccentric muscle contractions. Risks and benefits. Well, I don't know about any risks. Maybe for old people, but not for young people. But benefits, lots of benefits. It is superior to concentric. Eccentric will always be superior to concentric, and I'll tell you why. Because you'll build your natural strength. But if you want to build chemical strength, focus on eccentrics. All right, let's get into this abstract. Eccentric contractions, characterized by the lengthening of the muscle tendon complex, present several unique features compared with other types of contractions. See that? Listen to what they say here. Present several unique features compared with what? Other types of contractions, which may lead to unique adaptations. That's what you're looking for, adaptations. Due to its specific physiological and mechanical properties. Well, we all know mechanical loading is associated with muscle damage, and mechanical unloading is associated with atrophy. So there you go. That is muscle damage. Mechanical loading, or you want to call it tension, is muscle damage. So when people are telling you, hey, you shouldn't do muscle damage, do mechanical tension or mechanical loading, what are you talking about? Mechanical loading is muscle damage. They have to be dumb in their head not to know that. But anyways, okay, so there is increasing interest in employing eccentric muscle work for rehabilitation in clinical purposes. Okay, however, here's the most important part right there. I'll move it up here to the top. However, unaccustomed eccentric exercise is known to cause muscle damage. Well, how about that, eh? And delayed pain. Oh, a delayed pain. Commonly defined as what? Delayed onset muscular soreness. How about that? Everybody's telling you that DOMS is not associated with muscle damage. How can it not be associated with muscle? What is associated with muscle damage? Eccentric exercise is associated with it. What else is associated with muscle damage? Unaccustomed. Your exercise, you have to be unaccustomed to doing it. Here's another thing that's associated with DOMS, muscle damage. There you go. What else is associated with DOMS? Pain, no gain, broski. Get it, man? To date, the most useful preventative strategy. Here comes the part where they don't want you to do muscle damage. Muscle damage is associated with growth, but they don't want you to damage muscles. You understand me? You're not damaging muscles anymore in a gym. To date, the most useful preventative strategy to avoid these adverse effects, muscle damage, consists of repeating sessions. That's you. That's you in the gym. A chronic lifter, a slave, chronic lifting slave. That is you, chronic lifting slave. Get it, bro? Yeah. That's all of you out there. That's right. Getting a zero. You're getting a zero because you don't like pain. So you get no gains. Get it? No pain, no gains. So you don't get the pain, you don't get the gains, broski. Yeah, man. So, let's see, where were we? Repeating sessions involving submaximal eccentric contractions, whose intensity and progressively increased over the training. Despite an increased number of investigations focused on the eccentric contractions, a significant gap still remains in our understanding of the cellular and molecular mechanisms underlying the initial damage response to subsequent adaptations. Yeah, listen to what they say. The initial damage response and subsequent adaptations to eccentric exercise. See that? Newbie gains. Yet, unraveling the molecular basis. Well, there's other things that come into play here, like the repeated bout effect and a bunch of things. But that's just to protect muscle from a repeated bout of damage. Okay. Yet, unraveling the molecular basis of exercise-related muscle damage and soreness might help uncover the mechanism basis of what? Pathological conditions in myalgia or neuromuscular diseases. Well, I would say that I'm reversing a lot of stuff doing this muscle damage because I just started. I had a lot of problems during the summertime. I tried getting back into damaging my muscles every week, coming in every week. But I'm not doing it so periodically, very periodically, I could say now. And I was a little bit under the weather the last 3 weeks, but I'm just about to go back in the gym now, so I don't know. In addition, a better insight into the mechanisms governing eccentric training adaptation should provide invaluable information for designing therapeutic interventions and underlying potential therapeutic targets. Yeah, skeletal muscle eccentric contractions, exercise-induced muscle damage, EIMD, delayed muscle soreness, eccentric muscle. So you see it's associated with EIMD, DOMS, muscle damage, skeletal muscle, blah, 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 contractions. Introduction. An eccentric lengthening muscle contraction occurs when a force applied to the muscle exceeds the momentary force produced by the muscle itself. There you go. Resulting in the forced lengthening of the muscle tendon system while contracting. During this process, the muscle absorbs energy developed by an external load, explaining why eccentric action is also called negative work. Now, I tried to explain this to a guy in my video. He asked me, how can I do just eccentric? I told him, just focus on negatives. Do negatives, but you're going to need help in the gym to do these negatives. And your strength will increase 150% if you only do eccentric negatives. I didn't say doing eccentric work. I said eccentric negatives without the concentric at all. I mean, totally cut out. Your strength is gonna go through the roof, 150%. Me personally, I don't have anybody to train with in the gym to do these eccentric negatives. That's something you're going to have to figure out. So on your own. So yeah. So they tell you right there. They didn't lie in here. Negative work. The action is called negative work. Eccentric action explaining this type of work. As opposed to concentric. See what they say? Listen to what they say here. I'll read it again. During this process, because somebody asked me before, I could do videos on this. I don't know. Maybe I will one day in the summertime. During the process, the muscle absorbs energy developed by an external load, explaining why eccentric action, also called negative work, as opposed to concentric, shortening contractions, or positive work. See, negative. You get more out of negative than you do this positive. Trust me, you just do. Although not always obvious, eccentric muscle contractions are an integral part of most movements during daily or sport activities. Of course it is. It's kind of obvious, man. Skeletal muscle contract eccentrically to support the weight of the body against gravity and to absorb shock or to store elastic recoil energy to preparation, whatever, blah, 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 accelerating contractions. Okay, the slowing down role of these contractions, illustrated downhill running, so illustrated by downhill running or walking down the stairs, during which the eccentric work of the knee extensor muscles is accentuated. You understand what they're trying to explain to you? Going downhill, there's more eccentric work going downhill as opposed to going uphill. Uphill would be positive, so there's not going to be any damage in the muscle fiber if you're going up a hill. The damage happens in the eccentric portion of that movement. So, for example, you do a partial rep of eccentric with a movement of a weight. So you can actually move heavier weight, but doing less of the concentric and focusing more on the eccentric in a partial movement, you're able to lift heavier, and you just have to move it slightly. Look, there's an old saying in science, if you can push a wall, if you've pushed a wall, even a millimeter, a fraction of a millimeter, work has been done. As long as work has been done. If you watch Sam Sulek, his training, you'll see he'll keep forcing this weight to the point where his contractions are getting shorter and shorter and shorter because it's the eccentric contraction. He's moving more towards eccentric contraction, but he's not damaging muscles because he's a chronic lifter, like it says there. Like it says in this report, he's chronically lifting, he's focusing on the pump. He's doing sarcoplasmic training, but he has it all confused. He thinks muscle damage, this lifting heavy, has something to do with building these fake sarcoplasmic muscles. He doesn't know anything about lifting. Compared to concentric or isometric, which I like isometric, okay, constant length contractions. There's no lengthening in eccentric. You could say isometric. I call squat an isometric movement with a, how should I put it? There could be a bit of a eccentric with isometric. You can get 2 in 1 in that. Your body is still has a weight on its back doing a squat, right? And you're using your legs, but your upper body is not moving anywhere. Your legs are though. But the weight is constant, and if it's constant, it's isometric. Okay, so constant length contractions, eccentric muscle actions possess several unique features that may be responsible for unique adaptations. Yes, very unique. Great forces are generated during eccentric contractions. Why are greater forces generated during eccentric contractions? Because you could lift heavier than you could doing an eccentric or concentric movement. You understand me? You can literally pull more. All right. Contractions compared to other contraction types for a given angular velocity. Very important to understand that. If you're a sports person, you really want to understand this and read this report, kind of understand it. In addition to eccentric contractions required less motor unit. Listen to what they say. In addition, eccentric contractions require less motor unit activation and consume less oxygen and energy for a given muscle force than concentric contractions. Why is that? Because you're exerting yourself. That's what you're doing. Indeed, the metabolic cost required for eccentric exercise is approximately 4-fold lower than. That's why it's more superior than concentric. I'm trying to explain to you. They're trying to explain to you in this report. They're just telling you why it's more superior. They didn't say it is superior. In another report I have, it explains why it's superior. But this really brings it out. Indeed, the metabolic cost required by eccentric exercise is approximately 4-fold lower than for the same exercise performed concentrically. You understand me? That's why it's superior. Reduced aspiratory, I don't know, I can't even pronounce this, cardiorespiratory, whatever, and hemodynamic responses have been reported following eccentric exercise. Okay, whatever that means. When compared to eccentric exercise at the same absolute workload, while many questions remain unanswered, it is well accepted that neural strategies controlling eccentric contractions considerably differ from eccentric or isometric contractions. Well, I don't know too many isometric contractions unless you're squatting. It's really hard to say. Maybe a bench press is isometric as well. You still are moving and it's isometric because it's on top of you. And so, yeah, if you're holding on to a weight, deadlifting, holding on to a weight, going up and down, not dropping it, is isometric, but there's still a movement involved. There is a contraction involved. Okay, differences are detected on the level of the contracting muscle as well as on the cortical level. Most studies indicate a reduced central activation evidenced by a lower EMG amplitude during maximal concentric contractions, maximal eccentric or isometric contractions. This has implications on eccentric coordination. Okay, fine motor control. It's just superior all around, okay? I don't know if I could go through all of this. It's crazy. This is a lot of stuff here to go through. Indeed, the two main defining properties of eccentric contractions, highest forces and lower energy requirement, makes this contraction regime a judicious alternative to conventional muscle training. To date, it is well accepted that the benefits of eccentric exercise transcend improved muscular function, as this mode of training has been shown to induce a number of favorable repercussions on neural drive or health-related factors, because it's going to build your natural strength. If you want to build chemical strength, focus on a concentric, but eccentric will build your natural strength because you'll build myofibrillars. For many years, eccentric regime has been largely used in sport training to improve maximal muscular. Listen to what they say. They didn't say eccentric powerlifting. They say eccentric regime. That is bodybuilding. Bodybuilding focuses on eccentric. regime has been largely used in sport training to improve maximal muscular strength, power, as well as coordination during eccentric tasks. Robust evidence support its wide prescription in the sport rehabilitation field, notably in the treatment of tendinopathies and whatever. Implementing these things show that effectiveness prevents sport injury. It prevents sports injuries such as hamstring strains. While research has mainly focused on the functional outcomes following eccentric resistance training, use high loads and potential. Yeah, you could use high loads, man, and you're never going to get fucking hurt. The potential of low, moderate load regimes received much attention over the last decade. With the increasing consideration of physical activity in numerous medical fields, I can't go through this, man. This is too much. I was looking for something else. They're trying to wear off diseases and everything using that. It's a whole thing here, man. You'd have to go through the whole thing. It's crazy. I can't go through all this. So yeah, there's a lot of clinical stuff that goes along with it. It's amazing, okay? Eccentric, they talk about IAMD here, muscle damage, type 2 fibers to exercise right here at the top. Several hypotheses explain the higher susceptibility of type 2 fibers to exercise-induced muscle damage, IAMD. Among these differences, structural composition, fast-twitch muscle fibers, IAMD manifests in the range of clinical symptoms, including delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS stiffness, swelling, and various functional deficits such as loss in force, generating capacity, or decreased proprioceptive functions. Yeah, you're going to lose all these in the gym, but not outside. And eventually, that stuff won't bother you anymore when you get bigger and stronger. When you get bigger, you get stronger. So even though you get these symptoms, they're kind of going to wear off eventually when you get super big and strong. Because now it just is breaking down, it's just busting the little weaker muscle fibers. To avoid the invasive nature of muscle biopsies, these clinical manifestations have been well as plasma CK activity are frequently used to present muscle damage. Okay, let's try to find something else. Function of injury. It's quite interesting. You have to read this whole thing. It's quite interesting. You're going to probably like it. I don't know. Here's another thing about DOMS. They talk about eccentric. Therefore, performing repeated sessions with submaximal eccentric contractions appears to be the most effective strategy to induce eccentric training-induced adaptations that would prevent further muscle damage and DOMS. So no more muscle damage, no more DOMS, and no more growth. Okay, no more muscle cells, no more nuclei, no more nothing when you do that. The demonstration that eccentric actions can be performed without damage and soreness allowed consideration. Yeah, you can. You will get adapted, you'll be strong, and you won't get soreness, and you won't get any muscle damage, and then you won't grow. And eating. Considering the potential of eccentric trainings and medical conditions, studies conducted first with healthy subjects. Okay, whatever. Unaccustomed eccentric exercise. There you go. Mechanical exercise-induced muscle damage. It is generally accepted that the damage process is initiated due to the lack of homogeneity in sarcomere stretching, asymmetric lengthening, and whatever. Suggested eccentric contractions. The weakest sarcomeres, or even half sarcomeres, will absorb most of the length challenge. These may be stretched beyond the point of myofibrillar overlap, resulting in a disrupted or popped sarcomeres. In line with the proposal, several studies have shown that the length of the muscle during the eccentric contractions is a critical factor determining the extent of the damage. Yes, it's a critical factor in determining the extent in the damage that you caused in those muscle fibers. If you did. If you're a chronic lifter, you're not going to get that. Eccentric contractions performed at longer muscle length results is greater symptoms of damage. See that? Listen to what they say. Eccentric contractions, this is where you can get an extra muscle fiber, not just the cracks in the DOMS, filled up. Eccentric contractions performed at longer muscle length results in greater symptoms of what? Damage than similar contractions or short muscle length. Well, I don't know. It's all relative. You can go partially up, you can go in the middle, or as high as you want, or as low as you want. It just has to be repetitious. repetitious. The initial mechanical damage would trigger a cascade of events leading to more severe secondary damage. That's what I'm looking for in my exercise. I'm always looking for severe secondary damage. I'm never looking for the first damage because I'm trying to grow an extra myofiber plus the cracks in the domes and these nuclei. Okay, loss of calcium, okay, ROS, whatever. I don't know. Something with mitochondria here. Too much stuff here. DOMS again, EIMD, muscle strength, decreased glucose uptake and insulin sensitivity, impaired glucose synthesis, and elevated mobile shift. It's not doing any of that. Inflammatory immune responses to eccentric exercise. Well, the development of inflammatory action after eccentric exercise has been debated. Yeah, there's different kinds of inflammatory responses from everything that you're doing out there. However, the contrast is works describing the EIMD. Okay, inflammatory response. I don't care about this. Don't care about this either. This goes with regeneration here, immune functions and all that. Increases your immune function as well. The inflammation and immune responses are mediated by various growth factors. Of course, these are all the growth factors right here. Cytokine, this, that, whatever, The satellite cells activity is differentially affected by the contraction mode in human muscle following exercise at the same workload, Yeah, proliferation, whatever. You want all of that goody stuff. You want all the good stuff. Yes. Yes, exercise factors regulated by exercise acts. Yes, we know, okay. Delayed onset muscle soreness. Delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS, refers to unpleasant, dull, aching pain, usually felt during palpation, contractions, or stretching of the affected muscle. Such muscle soreness typically appears 12 to 24 hours after unaccustomed exercise. Eccentric exercise peaks at about 24 to 72 hours before progressively subsiding and disappearing within 5 to, what did they say? Before going away, 5 to 7 days. And in 7 days, I can make it, man, on my anabolic buffet eating. Okay, post-exercise. Interestingly, DOMS intensity is poorly correlated with other EIMD indirect markers and seems thus not to reflect the magnitude of muscle damage. But yeah, it depends on what you're doing. I don't know what kind of, are you trying to damage muscles or are you trying to get fucking oxidative stress damage, you know, that hypoxia damage. Although DOMS is an extremely common symptom, why DOMS occurs with a delay and why eccentric contractions but not shortening contractions induces DOMS is not clearly understood. It is not clearly understood. It's because it's associated with damage. Whatever. Okay, so then they talk about this lactic acid, the spasm, connective tissue damage, muscle damage, inflammation, oxidative stress, DOMS, yeah. Whole bunch of stuff there too. Muscle during eccentric exercise triggers the process of muscular mechanism hypoglycemia. Yeah, there's a lot there to talk about. Eccentric training induced adaptations. So they have eccentric induced adaptations, distinct features of eccentric contractions. Chronically performed eccentric contractions promote greater gains in strength. Listen to what they say here. Chronically performed eccentric contractions promote greater gains in what? Strength, muscle mass, and neural adaptations. Well, how about that, eh? Isn't that interesting? The distinct feature of eccentric contractions compared to other contraction modes are the source of specific training adaptations. A significant body of evidence suggests that compared to concentric contractions chronically performed, eccentric contractions promote greater, what? What do they promote? Greater gains in, oh my God, strength, muscle mass, and neural adaptations. And who do we know that does a lot of eccentric exercise? Bodybuilders, so they must be stronger. Who does concentric? Power lifters. They're weaker. That's right. They can only lift the weight once. The mechanisms responsible for these adaptations are underlined by modifications in gene expression. Indeed, the process of exercise-induced adaptations of skeletal muscle involves multiple signaling mechanisms and so forth and so on. There's a whole array of stuff here, man. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know if I could go through all of this. This is nuts. The expression levels, genes stimulated by eccentric actions. Okay, isometric. Here's another category. You could read this too if you want. Specific muscle adaptations to chronic eccentric exercise. Because the eccentric contractions differ from other contraction types, notably in terms of force generation, maximum force produced, and energy cost, it would provide different stimuli, leading to distinct muscular and functional adaptations. It would. It's going to make you super strong, bro. Give you super mass. A significant body of evidence suggests that the superiority of eccentric resistance training in terms of muscular hypertrophy over concentric or conventional strength training, the fake stuff, these people that try to make you think you're getting strong through chemical strength, focusing on concentric. They're all fake. They're all fools. Okay, some studies also report earlier increments in muscle mass with eccentric. Some studies also report earlier increments in muscle mass with eccentric-based resistance training when compared with concentric training. How about that? However, the findings appear extremely variable to clearly confirm greater gains in muscle mass following eccentric modalities. Indeed, in their view, draw the conclusions that the changes in muscular size are similar between eccentric and concentric training when matched for load or work. I don't know, maybe, possibly. It all depends. It's relative. It's still a heavy weight. A systematic review and meta-analysis about the contribution of different muscular actions and muscular growth showed a greater muscle mass gain with eccentric. A greater muscle mass gain with eccentric contractions. I wonder why that is. But the result did not reach significance. I don't know. Maybe it didn't for them. Nevertheless, taking into account the energy demand and workforce, eccentric exercise may be considered for more efficient, whatever. Okay, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole, like I said, you could read this yourself, man. There's a whole bunch there. The repeated bout effect, RB. Okay, here we come into the repeated bout effect. Skeletal muscle exhibits an intrinsic plasticity of repeated bouts of eccentric exercise. Among the adaptations specifically triggered by the eccentric contraction, some contribute to the RBE, aiming thus to protect muscle against what? EIMD, induced muscle damage. A large number of theories have been proposed to explain the RBE, suggesting a multifactorial origin of this adaptation process. It's because if you've got damaged, it's not going to damage right away, and you're a chronic lifter. That's another reason too. You're chronically lifting, and if you're chronically lifting, muscle will not damage chronically lifting because it's got to protect you from rhabdo. That's why it does that. According to neural theory, EIMD results from the high mechanical stress imposed. We already know that. I already know that. Fast twitch, whatever. This is nothing new. Additional muscle damage has led authors to suggest that changes in mechanical properties of the skeletal muscle system render muscle more resilient to EIMD. Yeah, okay. With respect to hypothesis, okay, whatever. This is quite lengthy, man. I can't go through all this, too. They talk about the RBE here, whatever. I don't know what else is here. There's a whole bunch of other stuff here. Multiple applications of eccentric training. There you go. There's multiple. Yeah, sparked growing interest in the last decade. See, eccentric training has sparked a growing interest in over the last decade, particularly in light of the emerging health-related benefits of improved muscle mass. Yeah, you want to know how it improves it? Because it injures it, and then the progenitor is, splits, divides, increases the number, and donates its nuclei, and then there's a repair and a remodeling, and da. Moreover, because a greater volume of exercise can be done, because greater volume of exercise can be done at less metabolic and cardiorespiratory cost, eccentric muscle work constitutes a promising training strategy not only to improve athletes' performances, but also to help maintain or restore the exercise capacity and quality of life in individuals with reduced tolerance and physical activity. Of course, yeah. For sick people and whatever, and old people, I don't know. I'm just doing this for sports purposes. Associated with muscle damage, traditionally eccentric. traditionally, eccentric contractions traditionally have been associated with what? Muscle damage. Yeah, that's right. It's all damage there. It's eccentric. Frequency and intensity of eccentric training sessions are eccentric and progressively increased. Symptoms of damage can be minimized and even avoided. It could be. If you're adapted, you won't get any more damage. Additionally, it is now accepted that either muscle damage nor inflammation or stimulating muscle adaptation protection against CIMD is increased muscle mass. Not necessarily. Eccentric training inventions are thus considered as a safe interventions to safe They talk about a bunch of stuff. Competitive sports. Well, few studies have been devoted to the effects of eccentric training in elite athletes compared to untrained subjects. The systematic inclusion of eccentric-based protocols into training programs is recommended for most competitive sports for performance. For what? For performance enhancement or injury prevention purposes. Wow, isn't that interesting? Listen to what they say here. Well, some studies have been devoted to the effect of eccentric training in elite athletes compared to untrained subjects. The systematic inclusion of eccentric-based protocols in training programs is recommended for what? Competitive sports, for performance enhancement or injury prevention purposes. Whoa, I wonder why that is. Indeed, because of its distinct characteristics, eccentric training modalities can further enhance maximal muscle strength and optimized improvements to power, optimal muscle length for what? Strength development, as well as coordination during eccentric tasks. Eccentric training may also be specifically efficient in enhancing speed performance. This is what they say. This is what I recommended to I hope you're still watching, my running friend over there, my running friends, I hope you're watching this video because this is you, bro. This is you, bro. Eccentric training may also be specifically effective in enhancing speed performance or inbound activities such as jumping. Now, I told you before, you need to practice on box jumping. Jumping is important in running, and so is speed performance doing eccentrics. This has notably been demonstrated. That's what's going to make you super fast, bro. I'm telling you, when I learned how to do muscle damage, it made me incredibly fast at running at everything. I was like a fucking super athlete. I never experienced anything like that in my entire life. Back then in 1999, when I discovered muscle damage and the buffet and everything, and then periodically working out and damaging all these muscles, and then getting, repair and remodeling and going back and hitting it and eating like a fucking like a pig, man, just like crazy. I'm gonna tell you this: there's nothing like eccentric exercise muscle damage, bro. Repair remodeling, more nuclei, more muscle fibers. You are going to be an animal, man. This has notably been demonstrated in basketball players. Those subjects to eccentric training for 6 weeks exhibited a significant improvement in jumping height in 8% while performance of the players that performed traditional weight training was unchanged. A change in titin protein isoform has been proposed to explain the increased stiffness of the muscle tendon unit, enhanced recovery, elastic strain. Okay, whatever. I don't know what else they got here. A bunch of stuff. It's also good for soccer players, says right there. Rehabilitation, there you go. It's good for rehabilitation. It's good for sarcopenia, like our coach Blaha. Given the ever-increasing aging population, the development strategies improve the quality of life. It's really going to help people with sarcopenia. I think Coach should focus on eccentrics because he's just gone. He's diminished. He's diminished. So yeah, man. And then they talk about more stuff here. Like I said, you could read this yourself. I'm going to go through all this. 12 weeks of eccentric, whatever, training, something. I could just tell you it's superior. Chronic diseases will go away with muscle damage. If you could repeatedly damage muscle once every week and you just keep repeating, you could wear off all these diseases and everything. Specifically that you eat a natural diet. It will go away with time. These things will they'll just go away. And you'll regenerate younger. You will regenerate younger. It's a known fact. Yeah, man. So moreover, the ability of exercise, mobility, okay. Health, whatever. These chronic conditions are going to go away. Treatment of, see, they even tell you, eccentric exercise may also be useful in the prevention of treatment of metabolic diseases given its rapid and favorable effects on health-related parameters. That's why it's superior. It is superior in every way. I can't even describe it to you. For instance, eccentric training is more effective to improve glucose tolerance than concentric training. It is. It's superior in every way. Demonstrated that a weekly bout of intense eccentric exercise and not concentric exercise is sufficient to improve health risk factors. They found that only 30 minutes of eccentric, listen to this, eccentric exercise performed for 8 weeks remarkably increased resting, energy expenditure, lipid oxidation, as well as what? Decreased insulin resistance and blood lipid profile. The load eccentric exercise in diabetes type 2 patients, man, I'm telling you, it has so many benefits. I can't even describe it. Many benefits. So, eccentric contractions may accelerate degenerative processes given the degenerative nature. Yeah, I already know that. You have to go through a degeneration before you go through regeneration in this factor. Practical considerations. Yeah, polymetric exercises such as drop jump, frequent used in the speed and jumping ability in athletes. So this is important for my running friends. Eccentric actions can be integrated in different types of muscle training. Plyometric exercises such as a drop jump is frequently used in what? Improve speed and jump ability in athletes. The literature recommends specific habituation training and knowledgeable supervision due to the inherent risk of injuries in such exercises. That's why you need a coach in that. I explain people to be very careful. Eccentric-based resistance training characterized by high muscle loads at a low metabolic cost has been increasingly prescribed for individuals with central limited exercise tolerance. Well, I don't know. It depends on the person, whatever. Resistance muscle training, okay, more modality. Therefore, the new modality, moderate load eccentric exercise, represents an attractive choice of various medical conditions and so forth and so on. Eccentric loads, okay. Practitioners, fundamental groups, I don't know, what is this? Professionals, repeated bout effect appeared larger in the initial eccentric bout involved higher workloads. This strategy could be problematic, especially for those undergoing rehabilitation. Elite athletes, indeed, DOMS, as the functional consequences associated with the IMD may frequently disturb the process of rehabilitation. Not necessarily, you just need to go through repair and modeling and or training programs. Then you're going to have to wait a while. Moreover, the uncomfortable sensations, here it is, the uncomfortable sensations may discourage people to continue exercise or training, and that's the problem. The problem with muscle damage is people are discouraged by pain. No pain, no gain. They don't want pain. They associate DOMS with something uncomfortable and pain, and so they don't want to damage muscles, therefore they will never grow. They like easy stuff like the pump and concentric movements. They don't like these painful movements. So continue exercise. Therefore, the initial consistent maximal eccentric muscle actions with incremental loading over periods of individuals. So it's associated with this disturbance, frequently disturb the progress of rehabilitation training. Moreover, the uncomfortable sensations may discourage people to continue exercising. It will. Because you guys are all pussies. Demonstrated that a 3-week gradual ramp-up eccentric protocol was effective at promoting muscle hypertrophy in the absence of demonstrable markers of muscle damage. Yeah, I mean, when they say hypertrophy, it doesn't mean that they're getting more cells. It may help in that disturbance and hypertrophy. Man, I don't know how to explain this hypertrophy when they're talking about it. Doing eccentric movements if you're adapted. If you're not eating, you're not going to get any hypertrophy, believe me. Okay. Demonstrable markers, muscle damage in clinical intervention progress, ramping up eccentric protocol starts with 50, 70, okay, whatever. Like I said, you could read this yourself. I'm just doing this for the channel purposes. We conceiving eccentric interventions practical account for. Yeah, okay, a lot of stuff. Even trained athletes are generally less affected by EMD than untrained people. Well, yeah, as a trained athlete, you may get some EIMD there eventually, right? But if you're totally untrained, people when submitting to the same eccentric protocol, they may not escape the detrimental effects of the eccentric contractions in some circumstances. They might be particularly vulnerable to EIMD. They are vulnerable at the start of the season or when they return to competition after injury. Because as we know, unaccustomed exercise in any sportive event will cause what? These muscle injuries. It's a known fact when you first come out, if you're unaccustomed to it. The occurrence of EIMD associated with unaccustomed eccentric exercise could be problematic in athletes because of the associated negative consequences on locomotor biochemics and sports performance within the short term. Yeah, within the short term, it can bother you. That's why I say you need to be adapted if you're a runner now. You don't want to cause any more muscle damage and growth. You don't want to damage muscles and grow. You want to be adapted now in your sport. You understand me? So you have to be a chronic player. You have to do it chronically so you don't get this damage anymore, or DOMS, or any of this stuff. Muscle damage is only used to make you bigger, better, stronger, and faster. Strength, power, speed, and performance. It is not there. You can't use it in performing now in a sport. You have to be in an adapted state. Otherwise, it'll fuck you up. So yeah, conclusion, the study of eccentric contractions is no longer confined to muscles as sports science, but it's becoming central clinical medicine and likely whatever, okay. They're adapting it to a bunch of things. However, unaccustomed exercise is well known to induce muscle damage that manifests by a range of what? Clinical symptoms, including DOMS and decreased muscle function. We know that. Up and now, this is nothing new, man, for me. This is like, when I read this stuff, I don't care. You know, I just read it for the channel. I don't give a shit. Attenuating symptoms of damage. Yeah. This is all pussy shit, get it? This is all pussy talk. I'm so scared of getting damaged. Yeah, pussies are scared of getting damaged. Repeated exposures to eccentric actions with progressively increasing loads can prevent the occurrence of muscle damage and DOMS. Does that, and you coming in chronically lifting like your coach Blaha, aging himself. Although the eccentric contractions have received more attention over the last decade, I know it has. Over the past decade, yes. It's building up momentum recently with athletes, but it's been around for a long time. Us older guys, we always knew about it. Okay, underlying acute eccentric exercise on the skeletal muscle. In addition, a better knowledge of the transient eccentric induced damage and subsequent adaptation to mechanical level may help to further understand the degeneration and regeneration cycles in healthy skeletal muscle and to identify abnormalities and so forth and so on, diseases, whatever. Okay, that was quite lengthy, man. I actually went through this almost through the whole thing. Jesus. So tell me what you think about that, friends. Like, subscribe, support the channel, comment down below. Helps with the algorithm. I'll see you in the next time. There you go. It is superior in every way. Eccentric contractions, muscle damage is associated with muscular strength and power. It is everything. And if you eat at a buffet, and if you eat like an animal, like you train, you're gonna be an animal. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. But if you don't, you'll just be the weak guy doing those funny exercises like profit fear. Okay? See you in the next one.